Now, the 16 Days of Activism, my apologies, against gender-based violence is an annual international campaign that begins on November 25th and ends on December 10th each year. The objective of the hashtag #BreakFree anti-violence campaign is to reduce the incidences and occurrences of violence in society through sharing lessons learned from individual stories of survivors and perpetrators of violence, as well as interventions with frontline care providers. Now, this year, the hashtag #BreakFree will commemorate the 16 Days of Activism with a variety of activities designed to raise awareness against violence. The theme for the hashtag #BreakFree is AAA all year round. Now, joining me in the studio this morning with more on the activities is Dr. Veronica Tron, who's the Gender and Child Protection Specialist at the Office of the First Lady, as well as Dr. Philippe Talavera, who's the Director of Ombecha Yehinga Organization, otherwise known as OYO. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Good morning. It's our pleasure. Firstly, Dr. Tron, the #BreakFree anti-violence campaign includes interventions such as case management, court work, capacity building, and awareness campaigns, as well as research. Talk to us just about the impact that this campaign has had since its inception in 2017.
I must say the #BreakFree impact is life-changing, life-saving. We literally save lives of the survivors and victims we work with. We've trained over 3,500 frontline service providers in the areas of sexual and gender-based violence, child protection, online abuse, vulnerable witnesses. And then because of the insights from our research and direct work with survivors, we could influence policy. Our thought leadership, I think we are making a big dent there. And then also the work with groups, community-based groups, the work, our outreach in schools.
Yes.
So there's several target audiences that we work with. The impact that we can say it is sound, but we also have become victims of our success. So the more we reach out, the more cases we get to deal with, and we sometimes struggle with capacity.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, the hashtag #BreakFree will commemorate the 16 Days of Activism with various activities. And the theme is awareness, accountability, action all year round. And then this, in short, obviously being AAA all year round. Why this theme?
I think it's important for us that the theme is inclusive, because I think the UN theme is End Violence Now against women. And our experience is that gender-based violence is not a woman's issue. And with our theme, we want to put a message across that it's all violence, all types of violence. We want to be inclusive, but we also want to put emphasis on the problem is so big in Namibia that we cannot only focus on it for 16 days. And that's where we add the all year around, because we want Namibians to have in their subconscious that if we want to make a change in sexual and gender-based violence, we need to focus on it 365 days a year. And we need to be aware, we need to have a full understanding of what it all entails. Still, we think gender-based violence and domestic violence is just about adults. We are not thinking of all the other types of violence. And then also, each and every role player, every individual should take accountability, because gender-based violence is preventable. And then we need to take action. And part of that action should be a strong focus on prevention. We should not wait until somebody died before we act.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Dr. Talavera, the Arts for Activism competition planned for tonight, can you just speak to us a little bit about that?
Well, actually, I think the idea of art is that it appeals to your emotion, it doesn't appeal to your intellect. And art has got plenty of outcome. It can be used to cure and to help as art therapy. It can be used to prevent, but mostly it helps you to express what you feel. And the idea with young people is that if we want to engage them, we have to find a way to engage them that is meaningful, to them, that they can express what they think, what they feel, what they fear, sometimes as well, in a way that is talking to them. And whether you take music, you take fashion, you take drama, you take songs, you take painting, those appeal to young people. It's not boring. It's not a lecture. It's not boring. So I don't know what to expect tonight because I haven't seen yet what has been produced. But what I hope is that young people had a chance to express themselves. And it's also interesting for us to see what type of messages young people would like to see, because sometimes we design messages and we think those messages will speak to young people, but it makes no sense. The messages should come from the young people. So those are platforms where we can see what messaging the young people want to see, what issues they want to talk about, and how do they want to talk about it. So basically tonight, as far as I understand, will be a display of what has been prepared, and we'll be able to look at what has been put there. It's a competition, so there is a prize, but more than the competition, it's a way for young people to express themselves.
Dr. Tron, can you just speak to us a little bit about how this competition came to be?
Okay, so exactly what Dr. Philip said is we looked into ways to engage young people, and we also believe to go where they are. So tonight there will be 3 categories: performing arts, visual arts, and then fashion design. And in each of the categories we will have 6 contestants. There will be judges, there will be 3 category prizes, but also an overall grand prize. But one of the requirements is they should be between 15 and 35, so the youth more to speak, but also that whatever they put out there should have strong messages against gender-based violence.
That's that's such an interesting concept. Dr. Talavera, can you speak to us about OYOs involvement in the 16 days of activism?
Look, I mean, as Dr. Veronica said, for us it's not a 16-day work, it's a all year round
yes.
year. But it's nice to sometimes have those dates to commemorate, just to re-emphasize the importance of those. As OYO, we have different activities. On Wednesday, we had a screening of Kukuri, which speaks of a underspoken form of violence, which is child marriage. We don't speak about it enough in Namibia, but that's also a form of violence when you force a child to get married before the age of 18, and that's traditional marriage, and we had that on Wednesday. Tonight, the dance troupe will perform at the event. We will perform one of our gender-based violence pieces called the Moirai. We will have an event next week about the LGBTQI+ community, which is also underreported in terms of violence. So yeah, we have various activities during those days. The 16 days of activism always are in the middle of World AIDS Day. So there's always a lot happening at that time. And sometimes it's a bit confusing between GBV, HIV. But actually, it's something that we need to talk all the time, not just at the end of the year. It's quite nice, though, to talk about it now because we are going to the holiday. And we know that a lot of violence are also happening during the holiday, unfortunately, when the family are back at home. So it's good that before the holiday, we reinforce the message and that people at least know where to go if violence occurs. And I really, really hope this Christmas will be slightly different. And I hope we will have less cases, because every year Christmas is actually a bad time for some people.
Wow. Now, Dr. Philippe, you did mention in the beginning how, you know, the issue of the youth bringing out messages themselves, because adults might have a different message when it comes to GBV and all other violence, that the youth will bring a specific message. But also, I would just like for you to elaborate, because I think that what you mentioned is very, very key, you know, just to give a bit more of an explanation, how exactly art is used, all forms of art is used, not just to even address issues of violence or gender-based violence, but other societal issues.
Look, I think any issue, GBV, HIV, whatever, we can look at it from 2 perspectives. One is intellectual. So you look at it from an academic point of view, an intellectual point of view, what are the causes, what are the symptoms, how can you treat it? And those appeal to some people who are more academic type of people. Those appeal to people who want to think and reflect on the issue. But at personal level, it might not touch you. And what you need at personal level is to be touched by the issue. Otherwise, GBV is something that happened to someone else. It does not concern me. I'm not abusive, and I'm not in an abusing situation. So why should I get involved? But if you start to feel, and either to put yourself in the shoes of someone who has been abused, or to try to reflect on how, even if it's your neighbor, it's actually impacting you, then you start to make it your problem. And to get to this my problem, my issue, you need to be able to feel what is happening. And that's what the art provides. The art provides a platform where you can feel. If you look at a powerful play, you will feel for the characters. If you read a powerful book, you will feel for the character. If you look at a powerful painting, you will reflect on what you see. So that's what is important with the art, is that it makes you feel. And if you feel, then you might be able to change.
I think what you said is just extremely powerful. You know, coming from that perspective, I think it's just very, very key and very, very important. Dr. Tron, you mentioned earlier that violence is not only an issue with women, and I think this is something very key, because we did have Sergeant Feliciana from the COPS division, City Police COPS division, speaking about how they went to Groot Oak, speaking about gender-based violence, and they got some perspectives from men. We didn't get into that with her, and I just think it's interesting because you've just mentioned that it's not just about women. Could you just elaborate on this, if you don't mind?
Okay, day to day we work with survivors and victims from both genders. And that's why it is important for us to understand it's not only about physical violence. We talk about economic violence. We talk about psychological and emotional violence, intimidation, trespassing. So for instance, if a male partner is cheated on, his children is neglected, if there is a custody dispute, male people also have emotions, although they have difficulty to express it. But what I see is that there's more male people coming forth to say, but actually I also need help. I don't want to lay criminal charges, but if somebody can just talk me through this. My children are impacted or affected. Where can I go for help and stuff? Also, sometimes we forget about the impact on children. Because if there's parents fighting, there's children caught in the crossfire. So gender-based violence have a rippling effect. For every one victim that report, there's at least 7 other people affected. So we must understand the types of, so if a married woman is squandering the income of the husband, that's economic abuse. And that's why the awareness raising is so important. Dr. Philip just said, people should know where they can come to seek professional help. And we want to create a platform, you know, a safe space for people to say, I need help before violence erupts. And that is the prevention part of it. So we need to speak about the different types, but also the different people that are directly affected. We in the office have a holistic approach, so we don't only talk about the survivor and the family frontline service providers. The perspective of the perpetrator is as important because we need to understand where they're coming from, how they think, their frame of mind, in order for us to have intervention that will speak to the problem.
Thank you so much. And on that note, to conclude, Dr. Tron, what's lined up, what activities are lined up for the 16 Days of Activism?
Okay, we have strong social media messages every day. We even proceeded it with a lot of training for corporates and for youth groups. And there will be a focus on World AIDS Day because there is a direct link between HIV and GBV, because HIV can be either a cause or it can be a consequence. And on that day, we will have a youth focus, be free, rock your ribbon.
Oh, that's nice.
And just to encourage dialogue with young people. And we have young people in Namibia doing wonderful work in the HIV sphere. The 3rd of December, we will have a focus on people that are differently able, because we know they are more susceptible to violence and stuff. The 11th of December, there will be a focus on our survivors. So there's a lot more, but if people want more, they can contact our office.
Thank you so much. Concluding remarks, Dr. Philippe?
Well, I think it's important that we have those platforms, and it's important for young people, as I said, to have a chance to express themselves. It's important to go into the festive season prepared as much as we can. We all want to enjoy December. That's a fact, and we all need December. I think this year has been difficult, but we need to make it safe for everybody. And as mentioned, violence affects everybody. And it's not that the men are the bad guys and the women are the victim. It's a dynamic. It's a dynamic within society.
Thank you
and
so
we need
much
to
for
change that dynamic.
Thank you so much for both of you coming through today to discuss such an important issue in society. I hope you both have a blessed day ahead.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
us.
That's Dr. Veronica Tron, who's the Gender and Child Protection Specialist in the Office of the First Lady, as well as Dr. Philippe Talavera, Director of OYO, just speaking to us about what's lined up for the 16 Days of Activism. Please do stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.